you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey everyone, I'd like to go over some info regarding Darth Plagueis. It's going to cover lots of info from the now Legends book Darth Plagueis by James Luceno, however, it's very interesting. Now, this is only a theory of mine, however, if this holds true, then we may have just figured something out here. For those who don't know, or those new to Star Wars, Darth Plagueis was the master of Emperor Palpatine, who was tragically killed in his sleep by him. I'll briefly go over his death before I continue with the evidence that could prove how he is very much alive. So, near Palpatine's completion of his training from Darth Plagueis in The Phantom Menace, he was being elected as Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. The time had come for him to kill his master and take his place as the ruling Sith Lord. He no longer needed him, so it was time to do what must be done. Now, get this. The night of his murder, Plagueis and Palpatine attended a Mon Calamari performance at the Galaxy's Opera House, which is the exact same stadium and composer that he and Anakin watched in The Revenge of the Sith as he talked about his master's murder. After the performance, the two Sith Lords retired to Plagueis' penthouse in the Kaldani Spires building to celebrate Palpatine's upcoming success. Here's where Sidious piled Plagueis with wine while rehearsing the acceptance speech he would soon deliver before the Senate. Watching as Plagueis became increasingly intoxicated, Sidious waited patiently until his master fell asleep before unleashing torrent after torrent of Sith lightning upon him, basking Plagueis in agony as he slowly tortured his master to death. So now that we're all caught up with the backstory to his death, let's examine his Force powers, in particular, several that could shed some light on his survival theory. Plagueis was well versed in the Force. Much like Sidious, he possessed the ability to manipulate the Force. On top of being able to create new life from midichlorians, he was able to retain one's identity after death, meaning he could become a Force ghost. This, however, didn't interest him, since his primary focus and the sole focus of Sith in general was the living realm, not the one after. He also had the ability to essence transfer, a skill he learned from his master who was named Darth Tenebrous, a crazy Sith Lord scientist that had created a poison that could cut a Jedi's connection to the Force. However, the most powerful of Plagueis' Force powers was his ability to see into his future. During The Phantom Menace, he saw Anakin board Qui-Gon's ship and reach out to him using the Force, and received visions of Vader rising from a metal bed, and felt his immense power and control over the fate of the galaxy in the years to come. This leads me to wonder, maybe Plagueis saw Palpatine killing him as a premonition, and faked his death or somehow used deception. In the book, just before he was murdered, he was the closest he had ever been to figuring out the ability to stop people from dying. However, Palpatine killed him just before he could get the full knowledge to this power. Plagueis was also very skilled in lightsaber combat, and particularly speed. He was noted to have been no slower than a lightning bolt to onlooking citizens. This leads me to believe that he could have escaped the attack, seeing as how Sidious shoots lightning as well, and the fact that they compared his speed to lightning is a little too coincidental. This leads me to spotlight his next ability. He was not just skilled, but masterful in conjuring Force illusions, convincing enough to fool even Sidious. Another piece to this theory was that Plagueis had 3 hearts, and one of his abilities was called Heart Stun, which allowed him to literally stop his hearts from beating as a means to allow them to maintain a hibernated state of stasis. This means that his hearts would stop beating for a certain amount of time. This was a technique Dooku used for General Grievous to keep him alive after the catastrophe on Martyr, which was his ship that blew up. Plagueis was also a master of Sith alchemy, like his master before him who created the poison. It is my belief that if Plagueis were to return somehow, the way Lucas intended and alludes to in his interviews, then he could very much be alive, waiting out the fall of the Empire and Sidious' death. During the murder, Plagueis could have easily foreseen the events with his powers and thus created a massive Force illusion for Sidious to make him think he actually killed his master in his sleep. After all, Plagueis did teach Palpatine everything he knew, so he would have been just as wise and cunning, if not more, than his apprentice. It is my personal belief that Plagueis is alive, Many of you inboxed me asking if I think Snoke is Plagueis, and the answer is, I really don't know. If I had to make an educated guess, I would say he is, because I just can't understand why Disney would cast a character that we know nothing about from the last 6 films and bring in someone completely new, unless he's a character to be revealed in upcoming seasons of Star Wars Rebels. Seeing the way they ended Rogue One, the way they did with all the characters, it makes me aware of Disney's efforts to stay true to the continuity of the series. What do you all think? Could he be alive, or is all this just Lucas non-canon legend stories now that Disney has the reins? Let me know below what your thoughts are, and I'll chime in. Thank you so much for watching this theory, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends. I'll see you all in tomorrow's episode of Star Wars Theory. Until then, remember,
the Force will be with you always.